Hello, everybody, and
Hi.
welcome to Stolendroids. My name is Jake. We've got some great guests with us tonight as we are getting ready to talk about episode 3 of season 2 of The Mandalorian. We are so excited. Zoner said it at the beginning as we were getting ready to start recording or broadcasting that this is the episode he thinks a lot of people were waiting for without knowing that they were waiting for it, which is okay. It makes sense if you think about it. I know it's late on a Sunday evening, and it may be like you're still in weekend mode and it's not quite ready to. That's all right, but it makes sense. Think about it. It's good. All right, let's introduce everybody. We'll just kind of go around. My name is Jake. I'm the host of Movies That Make Us, as well as Stolendroids podcast. Next to me, we've got Marley. Marley, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Marley, and I am a host of Cutscenes and Cupcakes, the podcast, as well as a panelist in the Stolendroids podcast.
And we are live on Cutscenes and Cupcakes Twitch right now, which we appreciate you guys letting us use that.
Dude!
Your viewers there. So, always happy to be reaching out to new audiences. So, thank you, Marley. Zoner, who are you?
I am Zoner, and I am one of the hosts of Stolendroids podcast. OG Stolendroids member here.
OG.
Yeah. OG.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Zon?
I think mainly it just means he's old.
That's really what it means, is I'm old.
Yeah. All right.
I wasn't going to say it.
Hi.
Jason, welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks. I'm Jason. This is my first time being on a podcast.
Yay! Woo! Podcast virgin.
Yeah. Podcast virgin. I'm Stolendroids now. You'll be seeing more of me now on a
mystery project.
I'm not allowed to say anything about it.
On an unnamed project.
Yes, unnamed project.
It's my project, bro. I'll come after you.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Well, that just means, well, welcome, Jason. We're glad to have you here.
Appreciate it.
Colin, we're going to ignore your comments for a few minutes on the Facebook feed.
But
he's just saying things that we don't need. All right, Erica, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll get into the show.
Hi, I'm Erica. I'm working on an unnamed project. Jason will be involved, so keep an eye out for that coming in January 2021.
Excited. Spear fingers.
Well, we're glad we could break you in here, Jason, before you have to do the mystery project. So hopefully this will make it easier.
That's what I told him.
So, no, this is good. We're glad to have you all here. We are going to talk about the third episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, chapter 11, The Heiress. If you guys haven't seen it yet, none of you guys, all of you have seen it, but if people watching this haven't seen it, just know we are going to spoil it. So that's your warning. If you don't mind spoilers, stick around. Yeah, you probably should have watched it beforehand. So, well, maybe we won't spoil it. Sounds like nobody's watched it, so whatever. But all right. So initially, what do you guys? Zoner, let's start with you because you made the comment that you thought this was the episode that everybody was waiting for, and they didn't know they were waiting for it. What did you mean by that?
Well, there's a lot that happens in this episode. You know, the very first episode of the season, we get to see the Boba Fett armor, and everybody thinks, oh, Boba Fett. But it turns out to just be Timothy Oliphant. And, you know, there is the shot there at the end of what everybody is assuming is Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh, no, don't be one of those guys.
I know. I'm just saying everybody's assuming. But that really, nothing has come of that yet.
Right.
And then we had kind of the monster of the week with episode 2 with the spiders, which, they need a disclaimer on that episode beforehand. May cause people with arachnophobia to poop themselves or something. That was just totally uncalled for.
They got way too close to Baby Yoda. Oh my god! I about died.
But then this one, you know, we get not only do we get to see some closure with Frog Lady, but we also get to see more Mandalorians, and we get to see a huge a huge plot hole closed up.
Yeah.
That the Mandalorian kind of opened up there for us with the whole we don't remove the helmet thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point.
And there's also all the speculation that what's the wrestler's name?
Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks, yes. I knew you would know that, Jake.
Of course.
But
she's WWE SmackDown Women's Champion right now.
Is she? Nice.
Yeah.
Was she in the show?
Yeah,
she was.
She was the other female Mandalorian.
Braids that crossed her forehead.
Oh, I thought
that was Sasha Banks.
Someone else. Never mind. I was talking. Okay.
But there was a lot of.
It was hard to tell because she didn't have purple hair, which she normally does.
Exactly. Okay. And there was a lot of speculation that she was going to be Sabine from Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that wasn't the case. And so there was a lot of stuff that kind of got resolved and answered and things in this episode, which is why I think a lot of people were looking forward to it without actually realizing they were looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think with episode 2, this is terrible of me. I wasn't on this podcast of episode 2, and I should go back and listen to what you guys said, but it was a little.
I wasn't on it either, Marley, so there's no point in going back. If you I weren't on it, why would we want to listen to it?
You're right.
I was there.
No reason.
But I didn't like that episode. And it wasn't just because of the spiders. I just feel like the only thing that was important in that episode was the fact that Frog Lady, her husband, has seen Mandalorians, and it was just to further that. And but that could have been done in a 2-minute scene. Why did it have to be a whole episode? So I think people definitely
were looking monsters.
I know they were looking forward to this next episode to be okay, Mandalorian, we love you and we have a lot of faith in you, but you need to keep up your episodes. We need to be engaged.
Well, and I think. Oh, go ahead, Erica.
Well, I wonder if it was one of those things, because I know a lot of TV shows do this, where they put in those episodes on purpose to ramp up a reaction. So they could have been doing that same thing where it's oh, you're not getting it just yet. Just you wait. And then you finally get it, and it feels like an even more of a relief and a lot more, excitement.
Yeah. And if you watch Mandalorian Season 1, they did kind of a similar thing, because you've got the first episode where they go and that's where the child's revealed, right? And that's huge, and everybody in the internet broke, and everybody fell in love with Star Wars all over again. But then the next episode was very much a Monster of the Week episode, similar to what we saw last week, where yes, he's trying to get back to his ship, but in between he's got to deal with the Jawas who have stolen everything, and then he's got to go fight the Mudhorn, and there wasn't really anything major in that other than the child using the Force, and we could see that he could do that. But it was still I think it was very similar to what we saw last week in episode 2. And then it brought back into the main story of now he's got to return the child. Is he going to turn it in and kind of picked up where the story from the first episode started. So I agree, Marley. It was kind of an interesting episode last week because it didn't really further the story from the first episode along as much as it was just kind of a self-contained own episode. But I think they did something similar last year as well. And both of those episodes had to do with eggs. So, if eggs are coming into the picture, then it's probably going to be a Monster of the Week type episode.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Nobody knows Baby Yoda ate half her children.
Yeah. Does she
know? I know,
They weren't fertilized yet. They were just eggs. It's no different than me going and having a plate of eggs for breakfast.
All right.
So, I don't know. I've seen that argument made, and obviously this is an argument that's been going on for over a week now, a couple of weeks. Well, I guess over a week now, about the eggs, whether it was funny or disturbing, right or wrong. I don't know. I felt because I get the chicken egg argument. They're not fertilized, and you eat the chicken eggs, and that's fine. But most chickens are not sentient like the frog people were. This was it was just so different. And I'll be honest, and maybe I don't know if I was the only one, but when he brings Baby Yoda or the child to the frog people to leave him there while he goes out on his adventure, my first thought was that's a bad idea. Don't eat the eggs, man. Yeah.
Well,
don't eat the tadpole.
He did tell them there. He did tell him, to behave, and he says, "You know what I mean." So I thought that was kind of funny, and it was a nice throwback to the previous week's episode where, he's basically saying, "Don't eat the eggs."
Yeah.
I think that was pretty funny. But when they met up,
it's so true. Oh my gosh,
that was good.
Frog Lady met up with her husband. I told my daughter, who I was watching the show with at the time, I said, he better not fertilize those eggs right now. I don't need to see that on the episode.
They weren't going to show that on his honor. It was fine. I don't think you had anything to worry about. They weren't going to show that on the episode.
I mean, that was my first thought too. I'm not going to lie. I was like, okay, they're kneeling down. Just hold on a minute.
Yeah, that would have been uncomfortable if all of a sudden you'd see him just sit down on the tank and a white cloud goes into the.
See, you guys have seen Star Wars before, right? Because there's nothing that's ever happened in any Star Wars film or property that would even make me think that they would even go there.
Yeah, Disney Plus also shows National Geographic.
Well, okay. So that aside, I want to talk about what Colin brought up. The first part where he's landing the ship, and he's all confident, and then it falls in the ocean or into the sea there, and they have to get out with that crane. I thought that was really cool. One of the things that was really cool about that is it was an AT-AT or an AT-AT. I'm going to say it both ways because I don't want to cause controversy.
Who says that?
Who calls it an AT-AT?
A lot of people call it an AT-AT.
I've never heard that before.
No, fairly common. And if we start... Yeah.
I'm going to start saying AT-AT now.
Ew, no!
What do they call the ATST?
Yeah.
They just call it ATST.
Not the ATS.
No, AT-AT is the only one that they call AT-AT.
That's contradictory to what they believe, and it's stupid.
It's not, and there's a lot of people that do it. And I'm just saying...
Sorry, everybody.
We're not going to open a can of worms by trying to argue it out here. But
I think we should.
But what was cool about that is it was an AT-AT converted into a crane. And what's cool about that is the AT-ATs were based on cranes from a shipping yard in Oakland in the San Francisco Bay Area that George Lucas used to see all the time. And that's where he got his inspiration for the AT-ATs. And so it was kind of this cool, like, circle of life kind of a thing.
That is way cool.
Love that. Love it.
Oh my goodness.
There was a comment on Twitch from Sinclair Enough. C3PO equals sip throw.
Well, yeah, except they put it as CP3O, which that's not. It's C3PO. So
that's why I just corrected it in my speech.
Well, I know, but sip throw doesn't work if you.
That's true.
It's C3PO.
Yeah.
That's
nope, it's sip throw. All right, well, let's.
Oh my goodness!
I'm thinking to myself that the Razor Crest needs to spend some serious time in the shop.
Yeah.
Serious time.
And that 1,000 credits that he spent to get it fixed up was just not even a drop in the bucket.
No.
And when he comes at the end and he's like, "This is what you did with the 1,000 credits," it's like, well, it'll run. That's what you get.
Do you think that was because that particular port where they were at just might not have had those resources?
Yeah, I think so. And I also think they ripped him off a little bit. It doesn't seem like a very reputable.
Yeah.
And
that too.
Colin would like to confirm that it has been confirmed by Lucasfilm that it's pronounced AT-AT, not AT-AT. That is true, Colin. But again, we're not going to argue it because there are passionate Star Wars fans on both sides.
So wait, that's legit. I should be calling it AT-AT.
No, you should not.
Yes, you absolutely should.
Sir, I would like to point out that Marley is your girlfriend, and she wins.
AT-AT.
I have a little bit of a point there.
All right. So this was really cool. So you kind of mentioned this at the beginning because this was the first time that we really saw something from the Clone Wars, characters from the Clone Wars reappear in this world. And how did they look? And what did they, how did they compare to their characters on the screen in Clone Wars? And it was amazing. Bo-Katan looked just like she did in the animated series.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, she's voiced by Katie Sackhoff in the animated series that she's been in. And now she's played by Katie Sackhoff, who played Starbucks in Battlestar Galactica. And it was just awesome. I thought she looked great.
Did she really do the voice? I didn't know she did the voice.
She did.
That is perfect.
I really liked it too because some of the cinematics when they're like raiding the ship looked straight out of Rebels, like Clone Wars, just gorgeous. I was blown away.
So okay, for those of us who haven't seen Clone Wars or Rebels,
yes,
can you explain to us why we should care about these people?
Yes, and that's a great question. So she was at one point the Mandalore, and the Mandalore was the ruler of Mandalore. So she was part of a group called Death Watch, and then later left that group. And at one point in Clone Wars, Darth Maul comes and he becomes the Mandalore and takes over the planet and rules all the Mandalorians and has the Darksaber. She ends up getting that from him, I think. Colin, I'm sure, could correct us. He's our Clone Wars expert. but at one point she was the ruler of Mandalore, and she had the Darksaber, and we don't know how she lost it. We don't know how it ended up being in Moff Gideon's hands at this point, but that's why she's trying to get it back, because getting the Darksaber back is tied to holding that title and reuniting the people of Mandalore.
That Darksaber is a lot more significant than I thought it was. It's like I heard her talk about the Darksaber, and she like mentioned like, why is that so important to her? You know?
Yeah.
Now you know it's a symbol for her. It's everything to her.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge, and it's huge to the people of Mandalore. Now the problem is the Mandalorian doesn't know all this, and this is kind of where it addresses that plot hole that you talked about, Zoner. Last year a lot of people really kind of lost their stuff when he wouldn't take his helmet off, because we've seen Mandalorians throughout the Clone Wars and throughout Rebels. Sabine Wren, who's a main character in Rebels, takes her helmet off all the time. And it's not a big deal at all. And now all of a sudden you're telling us that the rules of being a Mandalorian, and part of the way is that you can't take your helmet off, and that confused a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so meeting up with this group kind of helped clear that up a little bit. What were your thoughts as they addressed that issue?
I wonder how it's going to affect him moving forward. Is he going to continue to stay in his way, or will he slowly be like, okay, maybe, or learn more about them and be like, okay, well, I guess maybe I can take it off, and then he'll go back to the lady on that other planet and let her take his helmet off, and they'll kiss gloriously.
Oh,
because that was so sad.
So you're going for the super optimistic, happy ending. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. Which is not undoable in Star Wars. That's fine. What do you guys think? I mean, I thought they addressed it well, explaining that, he was a child of the Watch, and they were this extremist group that, trying to bring back the old ways to Mandalore. But he struggled with that. I mean, when they took their helmets off, his first question was,
where'd you get that armor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As someone who doesn't know as much about it, I love Star Wars, I just don't know as much about the lore. It made me think, is his way the correct way, or what are they implying? Like, was that something that was, because he's kind of only known his own religion, he hasn't known anything outside of that, his
own sect of the religion.
People are going to give him a better perspective of what's outside of Mandalore, like his own perspective religion.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think this is interesting because I'm not as super familiar with the lore as like Colin, who's watched all of Clone Wars and things like that. But I think they do a good job of, they throw stuff in there that if you are familiar with the lore, you're like, oh, that's really cool. But if you're not, it doesn't detract from the story. Like you just want to find out more about what it is and why it's there. And I'm interested to see if you're right, Jason, like what does he do now that he's confronted with, okay, is my way the right way, or is this other way the right way? And we don't know. And I think when we see cultures in franchises like Star Wars or Star Trek, we tend to think of them as being all very uniform, like all Klingons think the same, or all, Mandalorians think the same, or whatever. And we forget that, no, if it's going to be a real world with real culture and real communities, there's going to be differences in opinions in the way they behave and and how they adhere to the different rules and things like that. So it's not too weird for me to think that, yeah, there's going to be one group that's like very much like, yeah, this is the way you wear the armor all the time. And another group that's like, no, you take the helmet off whenever you want. It's not a big deal. Let's go have a drink at the end.
Yeah.
I just hope that we see more of Pedro Pascal's face. I wouldn't.
I
mind
know,
that.
right? I would love to see more of his face.
Well,
Man.
Yeah.
let me ask you guys this: when you, when Bo-Katan asked, or when she told him, the first time, this is the way. Was it just me, or did she seem to be mocking him almost?
Yes.
Yeah.
See,
I had that same thought the first time she said it, but then the second time she said it, I was like, that sounded more meaningful.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounded more authority.
And more sincere, more, okay, this is how we do things, as opposed to the first time where it's kind of a snarky, this is what you believe, screw you, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's great.
Well, and I think the first time she says it, it is kind of in that way, because I think once she realizes who he is and that he is a foundling that's been raised as a child of the Watch, she realizes that this is this extremist group, and she's afraid they're not going to get help from him, that he's not going to want to cooperate in any way. But I think the second time she says it, she understands him a little bit more and has a little bit more respect for him. And ultimately, she's a politician. Her goal, I think, at this point, her goal is to get the Darksaber and reunite Mandalore. Yes. And she's going to need all the sects and all the coverts that are out there and all the Mandalorians that are out there, regardless of what way they follow, to get behind her. And so she doesn't want to necessarily shun him, especially when he's helped her at this point.
And he has Baby Yoda.
He's got a baby Jedi.
No,
that's right.
Calvin makes a good comment here on Facebook. He says there's an arc in the Marvel Comics run from the 80s where they address the fallout between the Orthodox Mandalorians and the Reformed Mandalorians. The arc was called the Mandalorian Wars. So if any of you want to know more about that, that is
super cool.
That is a good starting point.
Calvin, I know him from work. He's got this knowledge that just blows my mind every time. It's great.
And then Colin says at the end, when he gets the location of Ahsoka, him and Bo-Katan both state, this is the way. He responds back. I think he realizes that there's more going on and respects them. And I think that's true too. I think at the beginning, there was a mutual lack of respect, right? She was like, oh crap, this is one of those extremists and we can't deal with them. And he's thinking, these guys aren't even real Mandalorians and I need to kill them so I can get their armor and get it to real Mandalorians or foundlings or whatever. But at the end, I think they have a totally different respect for each other.
Well, and I thought it was interesting too, because when they're kind of at the standoff and the ship is being plummeted to certain doom, it was Mando who said, cover me. And he ran out taking fire, I mean, he got shot multiple times in his armor. But he was the one who risked everything to try and get their objective. It wasn't the others. And I think that went a long way in helping them to respect him. But it shows that at that point, he respected them by risking his life to get things taken care of.
Yeah.
Did anybody else just scream when all of a sudden he smacks Baby Yoda? Oh my gosh. Even watching it a second playthrough, I was like, ah!
I seriously was so angry. Every time somebody tries to mess with Baby Yoda, don't. Exactly.
That got me good.
No, seriously. He's precious.
Which person slapped him? Like when they into the
octopus guy?
The ship full of Quarren? Yeah.
Oh. I mean, as soon as he said, like bring the child, I was like, that seems a little suspicious.
I thought that too. I'm like, that's shady.
And Mando thought so too. He's like, that's close enough. But obviously, it was still too close because they were able to knock him in there. And Like and then when he gets swallowed, I'm like, holy crap! I hope that pod can protect him well enough while he's in there.
I know.
Pod now.
Oh, that's airtight.
Yeah. The pod is no more. At least that one. We'll have to see if they get another one because that was pretty destroyed. But
that thing has protected him through a lot.
Yeah, it has. It's true. Yeah, but no, that was definitely a gasp-worthy moment where you're just like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? And even you watch it again and you're still going to feel that way.
Yeah. They've been doing that a lot though, because then at the end, the little octopus thing like falls from the ceiling, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Oh yeah, and then the one that latches onto his face.
Yes.
Don't play with your food.
So my daughter asked me, my daughter asked me what that was, and I said that's dinner.
Yeah.
And my 10-year-old started laughing, and then they show him slurp up the tentacle. Yep. I'm like, yep, called it.
That was awesome.
So last week we saw the alien eggs. This week we saw the face huggers. Are we going to see an alien pop out of a chest next week's Honor? What do you think?
Ew.
I don't know. It's Disney Plus. They're not going to show the white cloud in the egg tank. I don't think they're going to show
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption.
Charlie's face.
I mean, we already had the spiders. Really, can they just not anymore?
Yeah.
Now, Marley, you didn't watch Rebels, did you?
No.
No, those spiders actually are from Rebels. For those of you who watched Rebels, you may recall them. I think they were in the 4th season of Rebels.
Not the same creatures. The spiders?
Yes.
The spiders?
They're not the same creatures.
What?
So I went and watched New Rockstars, who does like breakdowns of all the episodes. It looks like the same creature, but it's not. It's based off of an original sketch drawing for creatures that were supposed to be on
Dagobah.
On Dagobah.
Yes.
So they look similar, but they are not the same creatures.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought the same exact thing.
I know that they were supposed to be used in the cave, I think, on Dagobah, but I believe that I'm calling BS on that one. I think that they are the same.
I'll link the video for you later so you can watch it, so you can get all the real details straight from the horse's mouth.
Because George Lucas?
No, but
listen.
Enough.
Listen, we're not going to take that George Lucas calls him at as a reason to call him at. So why is we take him as any kind of source for anything else?
Colin says the spiders in Rebels are generally not violent.
And they had a ton more eyes, didn't they? Whereas this one...
Yeah.
I don't know, but they're generally not also having their eggs eaten.
Just so creepy. I just keep envisioning like that giant thing on the ship, and I'm just like...
I just don't.
Hey, real life unicorn, we just want to say it's okay. We're not going to ban you. We would definitely recommend go watching Mandalorian, but if you're not going to, it's all good, man. Welcome to the show. We're glad you're
I
here.
love the hat.
Thanks for all the support, ROU. You're great.
All right. So now the real question is, they've said her name, Ahsoka Tano. They've said this is where she is, and that's supposedly where he is going next. Are we going to see her next week, or are we going to have another one of those kind of Monster of the Week episodes in between to kind of build up that suspense? I'll tell you my thoughts, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but I want to see what you guys think.
I think we'll see her next episode.
I think we'll see her at the very end of the episode.
That's what I was thinking. I think we're going to go through a lot and then see her at the very end.
That's what I was just going to say. If we do see her next episode, it will be at the very end and then cut to black.
Do we even know who the actress is, or are they keeping that secret still?
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
It is.
Rosario Dawson is supposedly playing Ahsoka. So...
And that's the actress that
that's what everybody.
Oh yeah, she's in like all of the like Daredevil and all
Yes.
the Marvel TV
I
shows.
love her.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's like
so great.
she's like the nurse, and she like helps
Yes.
everybody, and also
The
like
night
sleeps with
nurse.
everybody and everything. No
That-
shame, no
I-
shaming.
That-
But I'm
that
just
can
saying
also
she gets
be helpful.
around. She
That
gets
can be helpful
around.
for people.
And
Um,
she is a hardcore like nerd in
Oh, yeah.
real
Yeah.
life.
She's
So-
cool. She's really cool. I mean, I hope it's really her. Like, I don't even know
Yeah.
if IMDb is saying that or not. Is it?
I don't know if it is or not either. We can double check. But everybody, I mean, that's kind of the consensus is that's who she signed on to play, and that that's kind of been the assumption all along. I like
That'll
Colin's
be
theory
cool.
here
Yeah.
that she'll find him because his ship is going to crash somewhere. And I think
Like,
that,
you gotta find her next place because it's not getting past the next destination. I tell you that.
yeah,
Not-
I think
Yeah. IMDb does not have
her character listed.
Ooh.
this
Ooh.
listed. It does not have the Mandalorian listed at all.
That's
Yeah.
a little suspect.
So I think that there's something to that. I think the next episode is going to kind of build that a little bit, and I think you're right, guys. We'll probably see her at the very end. Dave Filoni, from what I understand, he's kind of the co-showrunner on The Mandalorian. He was the showrunner on Clone Wars, Rebels. Like, he has built the whole Star
So
Wars
proud.
universe outside of the movies.
So proud.
And he's amazing. And Ahsoka Tano is kind of his baby, and he loves this character. And he is slated to be directing the 5th episode, and that's where everybody's kind of guessing that's where she's going to be, is in that episode, because he's going to want to direct.
That's a really
her
safe
story.
assumption too, which would make sense if like at the very end of the episode she pops in, but like you just see her face. There's not really anything directional wise to do, and then she
Mhm.
really comes in on the next episode. I think that would make
That's sense.
Yeah.
that's a great assumption for him to just take control of that character. Whereas the end of one episode, just like her face, it's like that's cool, it's whatever, but I get the big guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's pretty cool too that like Bryce Dallas Howard is she's been doing more of them too. Or has she just done
Yeah.
the one, or has she done more of them?
She did one last season.
Okay,
and
that's
then
what I
this one.
thought.
Because they have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do they have 5 directors? Or is it 4?
She's cool. I like her.
I like her a lot.
It's 4 or 5, and some of them are back from last season, and some of them are new this season. And
Is it
Is
safe
it-
to say that she's got a strong future in the Star Wars universe?
I think, especially after this
I think
episode
so.
was so strong,
Mm-hmm.
she's got a clear path, despite who her father is.
Yeah, I think her
Well, not
last season episode was really strong as well.
yeah, it was. That's where we saw Cara Dune for the first time. Was
Oh,
in
yeah.
her episode. Yeah, I think she's done a great job as a director. And obviously, you alluded to it, Erica. She's got it in her blood being a director. I mean, Ron Howard's no slouch. So I hope she's got a bright future, and I hope that she continues to do well and do more episodes, because I think this one was brilliant. This was, for me, like the first episode of this season was really good, and I think most of it was just really, really good because it was The Mandalorian again, and I'd been waiting a year for it. The second episode just was kind of hit and miss for me. It wasn't super great, but this episode was finally like the episode where I'm like, yeah, this is good. This is getting better and better each week. So
Whereas me, like, we rate all the episodes, and I'm like, these are 5 out of 5, and now I'm like, is this gonna have to be like a 6 out of 5 now?
yeah, see, that's why you got to be careful giving out those 5 out of 5.
But I loved every single one of them so much.
I said after we finished watching it, I said, man, I really like that episode. And my daughter said, you say that about every episode,
Yeah.
Dad. It's like, so what? I like them all.
What's wrong with enjoying it?
I'm the same way.
There's nothing wrong with enjoying it. I'm just saying every episode can't be 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
So
Yes, they
They
can, Jake.
can.
I'll just up my
though.
rating. This episode was 6 out of 6. The next episode was 7 out of 7.
all right, well, but it does. We have gotten to that point in the show where we can start talking about ratings. What would you rate this out of 5 Mandos, Marley?
I would say okay. I'd say maybe
Uh-oh.
4.5 Mando helmets, because like, yes, it was a really good episode, especially compared to the previous one. But and I know this is all my own fault, but where I haven't seen Rebels or Clone Wars, like, it didn't hold as much significance to me. Like, yeah, it's cool to see more Mandalorians and like to see where the story could go from here, but it didn't, like, everyone else was kind of freaking out and like, oh, it was so great, which is fine. You guys, you can feel that way, but for me, I'm like, yeah, it was a good episode.
That makes a lot of sense too. And I can't remember in one of the chats if it was you, Jake, or Colin, who said kind of like they introduced these things in a way that even if you hadn't seen Rebels or Clone Wars, you understood a significance, even if it wasn't like the whole picture. I thought that was a really, really great point.
Well, and at least to just understand the plot and what's happening with the plot. But
that you didn't have to have seen the other things to understand the plot.
Yeah, exactly. But the hype around it is, I just don't match it because
that makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But it was
what
still
about you,
really
Zana?
good.
I'm going to give it a 5. Unlike Marley, I do have that understanding, and so I do see the significance of it. But I totally get where she's coming from. I mean, she's got this big blind spot there, whereas I can see it all. So it's
nerd.
Yeah.
Oh, you're one to talk.
I'm just kidding.
But
yes, we like to belittle nerds on the Stolendroids Podcast Network.
We're all nerds.
We're all nerds.
But I love when a show takes elements that may not be really well known to everybody. And I keep seeing articles on the internet this weekend, who is Bo-Katan and why should you care? Who is Ahsoka Tano and why should you care? Stuff like that. It's like, okay, first of all, you should know who Ahsoka Tano is because she's awesome. And I'll give you some slack if you don't know who Bo-Katan is. But she's pretty cool too. But Ahsoka is like seriously one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, it's really nice when they're starting to bring in some of these other shows, and so they don't feel like Clone Wars is just this thing that's out there kind of on its own, and Rebels is just another thing that's out there kind of on its own. It's all kind of tying in and becoming one with the Force.
Yep. All right. What about you, Jason?
I think I'm gonna give it a 4.9 out of 5.
There's a little ding in the Mandalorian armor or something.
Actually, the reason I liked it so much is because I've been waiting for like some really cool Mandalorian armor. So that blue armor, oh my gosh. Matching like
Beautiful.
3 blue armors, like, that was so cool. I have a friend who is in like the Mandalorian club at Comic-Con, and he always shows me like his really cool armor. So like I appreciate really cool looking Mandalorian armor. I think the blue armor has been my favorite so far. And I love that. Only reason I give it like a -0.1 is because I wanted to see Ahsoka so bad.
So you're just gonna like ding all of them until she shows up.
Until Ahsoka's in it, I'm not
until she's in it. It's not going to get a 5.
No.
That's the punishment.
That's fair.
I wanted to see her. I even like in Marley when I saw like I was watching it with her when I saw the hooded figure. I'm like Ahsoka. It wasn't her.
Nope.
Right?
I wanted her so bad, but
What was that?
That
It
was
was-
the
It was Sasha Banks' character.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I just didn't even give her a second thought until like
I thought
just
the
now.
same thing, Jason, when I saw her, and then I was like, no, it's not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it would have been cool. I'm with you. I'm excited for her to be there. I don't know that I'm going to hold it against the episode necessarily, but I get where you're coming from.
I'm gonna give it a 5 until I see one.
All right, Erica, what about you? I mean, you've already told us what you're going to give it as a rating, but let's hear the reasons why.
So one of my biggest, not only was everything just like everything we had waited for almost, But I had recently been watching like the Disney's like A Day at Disney, where they were one of the episodes was one of the guys who, or one of the girls who like helps create all of the attractions at the Star Wars area. I don't remember what it's called because I've never actually been there.
Galaxy's Edge?
Galaxy's Edge, yeah. So where they were like, putting like some of the details on like the ships, and like I'd been really into watching like them put in the detail to the work. So when it came out to Mando and the child on the boat, all I could help was stare at these gorgeous details on this ship and how real it looked, and how I was blown away by the artistic elements of the episode. That's why I would give it all the stars. Right. The attention to detail was stunning.
Yeah, I definitely would agree that they did a lot in this episode, and really through the episodes that we've seen so far this year, to really build out the world building aspect of the show, showing us parts of the Star Wars universe that we haven't seen on screen, except maybe in the animated stuff, which is really cool. And I think that that's an awesome aspect of this episode. We don't think about boats and things like that in the Star Wars universe, and so to see one and fishermen and all of that kind of stuff, it was really neat. I'm going to give this 4.5 out of 5. That's not to say I didn't love it. I did, but I think there's a 5 out of 5 coming in the next episode or two, and I don't want to waste it on this one. I just feel like this one was really good, and I will go back and I'll rewatch it and I'll enjoy it. And it's probably the first one of the season where I'm like, yeah, I would go back and watch that one probably a couple more times. The first two were like, yeah, they were good, but I don't, unless I'm putting myself through watching the whole season again to prepare for next season, I'm not going to go back and rewatch them. This is one that I would. And so for me, that puts it up there pretty high, but I think 4.5 is where I would sit on this one, just because I think next week or the week after is going to really blow us all away. And will finally give us a 5 out of 5 for Jason. I think one of those two episodes will finally get us there. So,
and that episode will be a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, and Erica's going to give it 10 out of 5 Mandos or 100.
I don't care
whatever.
if it doesn't progress the plot or if it's just nothing happens. If I see Ahsoka, 5.
I am pretty sure it will progress the plot, and she will become a big factor. I hope she does going forward. And this was really kind of this episode. We knew that they were going to bring in some elements from the Clone Wars and from Rebels and things like that. And I was nervous that they were going to overdo it. And this was kind of their first foray into that, really pretty hard. And I thought it worked well. I thought they looked really good. I thought the armor, Jason, like you said, was fantastic.
Especially like the engravings on what was her name?
Bo-Katan. That's how we knew it was her. We see the blue armor, but we see her helmet, and we're like,
yeah,
gasp!
So cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this: how pissed are you going to be if we get Ahsoka Tano for one episode, and then she sends Mando on his way?
It's my face.
And that's it.
The disappointment that you could just emanate from Jason.
Well, then there will be one episode that Jason gives 5 out of 5 to, and the rest of it will be no higher than 4.9.
I mean, obviously she may send him somewhere, but I would wonder if she would go with.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That's kind of what I'm envisioning, but you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I hear from everybody, she sounds cool. I didn't know her name, but when someone told me, oh, this person, I Googled it and I was like, oh, she looks familiar. I've seen her in promos for these shows, but if she's in an episode, to me, if she's in an episode, awesome. But again, I'm not attached to her because I don't know her, so I'm I have no opinion really on this.
Of all the people to be attached to,
I don't know.
Ahsoka would be the best one to be attached to.
Yeah.
I'll find some sort of YouTube video that summarizes her importance and her awesomeness and send it to you so you can feel a little more attached.
Yeah, we need to have a Ahsoka education course for Marley.
If you send me any videos, make sure they're 5 minutes or less because I won't watch them if they're that long. I'll be honest.
You won't.
So she needs a video that just really emphasizes the importance and impact of Ahsoka Tano, but that's less than 5 minutes long.
I found one. It's
that,
a complete
that sounds
life.
like a challenge.
I don't got time for anything else, so give it 5 minutes. I'll give it 5 minutes.
How about this one? That's the complete life of Ahsoka Tano, part 1, and it's an hour long.
Whoa.
Yeah, Erica, I'm not watching that. I'm sorry. I have a Grey's Anatomy episode I need to go watch. No.
Colin says you just need to watch the Clone Wars final 2 episodes, and then you'll love her.
That's a great idea.
But that's an hour long at least, because I think they're like half-hour long each.
Marley, they have some killer fights. They use like mocap and for Ahsoka and Darth Maul, and they just like duke it out, and it's, oh my gosh, I fangirled so hard over it. It was beautiful. Anyway.
Cool.
All right, well, so we'll look for a 5-minute video about Ahsoka Tano and see if we can help you out there, Marley.
Thank you.
In the meantime, we will be back next week to talk more Mandalorian as the 4th episode comes out. We'll see if it will be a 5-star episode for Jason or not, or a 5-man episode for Jason or not. I keep my fingers crossed that maybe it will, but I really think we'll probably actually see it in episode 5. So,
you watch it, I guarantee you'll know.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for stopping by. Thank you for your chats and your comments. We really appreciate it. And be sure to be back here next week as we talk about episode 4. Thanks so much and have a great week, guys. We'll see you later.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.